This all started when we were watching the Google Marketing Live event, and we're all like slacking like in real time, and like, oh my god, they said this, oh my god, they said this. They're doing a big push towards AI. They're adding the AI, like, right? If people now are searching on TikTok and Reddit and LLMs, they're not going to Google to search anymore.
The death of Google has been greatly exaggerated. I think we're obviously all breathlessly talking about the rise of ChatGPT and Perplexity and these other search engines, but they are a sub 1% of volume, in anything that really matters. But I think at the same time, Google is obviously changing. It's obviously been a period of dramatic upheaval, and I think what we've seen in the industry is a couple of things. Like the SEO industry has been measuring this in a bunch of different ways, and obviously we don't get data directly from Google, so it's hard to measure it. But like, there's two things that are kind of true. One is when AI overviews show up, the click profile of the page radically changes, and overall clicks decline, like clicks off Google decline. And the second thing is that those AI overviews have been rapidly expanding. So in particular, since kind of like February this year onwards, like they've just been on a very steep trajectory. And so, yeah, I mean, the entire search landscape is not only changed dramatically from what it was 6 months ago, but I think will continue to change, right? I think we're only getting started to the degree to which things are changing.
I just did a little test before this. If you search the word test, it's informational results, no ads, no AI overview. If you search brand building, there's an AI overview, and then the search ad is right below it. So as we know, historically, the paid search ad would be on top, then organic results. So that's been flipped. So I think Google's trying to play catch up to ChatGPT. And the crazy thing is, I think they're suffering from the innovator's dilemma, because they had this technology coming out of DeepMind, and they sat on it because they didn't want to disrupt their cash cow, which is Google search. Then OpenAI launches it, and they've just been trying to catch up. So first with AI summaries and some placements on mobile in the US, they're rolling it out globally. Then AI mode, which is totally different from generative AI summaries, as far as I understand. And ads are even lower on the page. They're almost like billboard banners. And so there's this dramatic change. And if you look at Google's earning reports, their click volume is flat, but their revenue is up, which means they're charging more per click, but they're losing market share. So we may never see again this one interface for search, which was Google. It's now being disrupted across ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Anthropic, and competitors. So now it's a multi-surface search experience, and you're not just seeing a bunch of links anymore. As we all know, we're seeing one answer, and a lot of the time you're getting searches without a click, which is totally different. It used to be that you'd search and then you click, and that was the point of search, both organic and paid search. But now suddenly you could just get a result and that's it. So like, that's, I think, one of the biggest disruptions, and that trend I foresee continuing.
The previous world, in some senses, was very straightforward, right? Google had provided a good interface to information that users liked, and where they'd figured out a way to make the ads look like the organic results and about as useful as the organic results. And it turns out a lot of people click those, and that's how Google made money, right? And that was $198 billion last year. In the new world, right, we figured out a new way to serve information to people, which is this kind of conversational interface, chat interface, answers to your query, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No one has figured out how to monetize that yet, right? And like, the future is not going to be like paid subscriptions, right? Even Sam Altman said in an interview, I think it was with Ben Thompson on Stratechery, like the consumer market is not going to pay $20 a month for a ChatGPT subscription, right, or a Gemini subscription. That isn't the game. The game is you get all the eyeballs and then you monetize them, right? But no one's figured out how to monetize those eyeballs yet in an AI search world.
Yeah,
so
I think Google is in the process of figuring it out, as demonstrated by AI Max for search, which most of our clients do not want to test, because the key difference is that historically you would target keywords, your creative in search would have those keywords, and that was it. It's pretty straightforward, match types, and it works. And that there's a reason Google makes so much money doing it. But now you have to infer the intent behind the conversational query, and AI Max for search is intended to do that. So rather than just matching the creative to the keyword, it's the underlying intent. So that's Google's solution to it. It's almost like Performance Max meets search all in one. And so I think that's where the trend is going. but there's reluctance to try it because you kind of lose out on that control. And the really interesting piece is like historically paid search and organic search were somewhat separate or pretty separate. But now with AI Max for search, similar to dynamic search ads on steroids, the optimized page informs what the creative will be in the AI Max result. And the better your optimization is on your landing page, the better your creative will match the underlying intent. So semantics are increasingly important. And I think there's a emerging collapsing between organic and paid search as demonstrated by Google's new solution.
We haven't seen this yet in any meaningful sense, but conceptually, AI models will be the best salespeople you've ever met, right? So like instead of, so if I'm Google, like let's say like best credit card, right? Like it's one of my kind of go-to, like a highly commercial query. I'm a user and I put in best credit card. Today, the best Google can do is really like, hey, we have an ad from Chase, like Chase Sapphire seems like a good credit card. They're paying me money. Here's a link to the Chase Sapphire, right? And there's like a little headline. In the future, the AI model will be able to be like, oh, hi, Tom. Like, you're looking for a credit card? Yeah, I know. Like, we had a conversation about, struggling with debt a couple months ago. We should really get? You should get the Chase Sapphire because that's going to be like perfect for your credit score and your situation. Like, the point is, it is going to sell you on the ad. It isn't just going to present the ad. It has the opportunity to be like, no, you should click this, and here's why, and here's why it's relevant for you, and here's why it's meets your needs in this situation. So, to your point, Elliot, like, I think the loss of control and the loss of data is going to be one of the defining stories of the kind of AI era where everything goes into a black box, right? We no longer know what people are searching for. We don't know what ad was shown to them. We don't know, what happened really, except that at some point, money spits out, right? And we're like, okay, I guess it works, right? Now, you could say optimistically, this will be great because it'll make all of our campaigns very efficient and so on and so forth. Pessimistically, it basically cedes the entire game to the platforms, right? The platforms now just get to entirely own the full, kind of all the data, all the insights. Imagine a world before AI where you get 100 visitors and 5 of them convert, and then a world after AI where you get 10 visitors and 6 of them convert, right? And you're like, okay, it's like super high converting, but like the value of those 99 or 95 visitors was not zero, right? Some of those people will sign up for an email list, or you can retarget them, or you can learn from them. Like, maybe you have some kind of brand association for like a future visit. I think there's something interesting in like, again, I've seen a lot of kind of breathless LinkedIn headlines around that same idea of like, it's much higher intent traffic. It's like, yeah, but we still lose something when the traffic gets taken away from us, right? Like there's still like when brands and websites are disintermediated from their audiences, I still think something is lost, right? Even if, to your point, conceptually as an end user, like there are plenty of times when that makes sense, where it's like I just get exactly what I needed and I get out.
Discovery is becoming more fragmented. It's happening across multiple places because people are searching through different things. One wants to see a video testimonial of somebody that has bought. The other one wants the expert AI recommendation, right? I wonder if it almost goes back to mass media where it's like you kind of need to be everywhere. The whole upper funnel thing. You need mass awareness, and then search and LLMs and some of those becomes more about intent.
And how do those multi-channel strategies and placements inform and influence the results that come out of LLMs? So it's not just ranking for Google search anymore. Earned media and placements in publishers and organic search, organic virality, even YouTube, Reddit, showing up there to help influence and rank better for LLMs. So because you don't just need to land on one page, you need to be like the be all end all that's recommended from the LLM. So increasingly, like there's a need to show up more broadly these top of funnel placements, informational placements, while optimizing your landing pages in ways that LLMs are going to pull and rely on you. So having lots of backlinks, of course, like traditional SEO, but thinking through like more like snippet based and pros and cons and comparisons to help inform and influence the kinds of results that LLMs are going to spit out.
Like having your own Reddit thread has never been more relevant based on what you said.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was also true in the old world, right? In many ways, like it was just invisible, right? So like word of mouth has always been important. People have always, looked at multiple sources, they would look at Reddit, they would come back, they would search. Like the user journey has always been, multi-step and fragmented and so on. It's always been a kind of a false sense of luxury that we get this kind of like end-to-end measurability, right? I'm like, oh, somebody searched this phrase and they clicked on it and they clicked on my website and they bought my thing. Like, great, I know exactly what happened. It's like, no, you still don't know what happened. You still don't know why they Googled for that thing and like why now and like what else they looked at, along the way or before and after, et cetera, et cetera. As the brand gets bigger and more sophisticated, you do more and more of that kind of like, media mix modeling and like, market-based campaigns to really control and isolate for different effects of like what's really going on. The AI is only going to link to things that it can give a reason for linking to, right? So you're never going to show up just because you're relevant for something. You have to show up because you're useful, right? Like because you're actually like there's a reason that your brand or your link or your website is the right fit for the user's journey at that moment, right? And given the context and the history and so on and so forth. And so whether it's a Reddit thread, whether it is comments on the page, whether it's social media mentions, whether it's press mentions, whatever it is that allows the LLM to be like, oh, here's a reason why these headphones are good. Not just like they have a lot of backlinks, right? Like an LLM isn't going to be like, according to my black box algorithm, these headphones are great. No, the LLM is going to be like, headphones are great because such and such on Reddit said they are, or because the Wirecutter said they're good, or like, whatever that kind of like contextual recommendation is, but they're going to give a reason. They're not just going to show you a link and be like, here are some good headphones, right? Which I think is like the old world, right? Google was always happy to just be like, oh, you want headphones? Here's some headphones, right? And you kind of trust that they were kind of good because Google said so, or because they were showing up, but there's a bunch of them and so on. I think the future is much more like, there's only going to be a link there if it comes with a natural kind of recommendation.
And the challenge from a measurement perspective is users tend to click less when they get AI results or when they're chatting with an LLM. So if you rank, even if you show up and you get impressions, you might not get a click. So how do you know if you're achieving your desired outcome? So that's where, like, to your point, MMM is more important, or survey-based, or even just search lift analyses to understand the impact of your AI optimization or SEO efforts, because you no longer have that last click perspective when you're losing out on, you're gaining impressions, but you're losing out on clicks. Like, it is this kind of Wild West era where we don't really know what's happening, but like clearly there needs to be a path to monetization, because as far as I understand, ChatGPT is losing money. If anything, AI mode looks like it's going to eat into Google's search revenue. And that's why I think they're afraid to make AI mode front and center, because like the ad is below the fold. Like that doesn't make any sense for search monetization. So that would be an inversion of their approach.
Right.
And I even find it surprising that paid search ads are below the generative AI results in Google, because that's a big risk, because like that's a lot of it, really high value inventory. And it speaks to like Google trying to play catch up. They're just trying to figure it out, and they're trying to avoid losing market share.
It has to be a race between the two of them. Like either one's going to figure out the search aspect or the other one's going to figure out the monetization. Because an example that I was giving internally is like my 8-year-old son, he's not at all on the internet. He is not the child that watches YouTube. But one day I used ChatGPT with him because he was asking me something that I'm like, I'm never going to find this response. So I went to ChatGPT, and even since then, he's like, let's look at ChatGPT. He doesn't know the verb Google. He's gonna grow up. I don't know, because it's too early. You don't know, but like my kids are like fully going to voice. They talk to devices. He's fully hooked on ChatGPT. Like that's who he thinks as Google now.
For sure.
I think it depends on the first point of exposure. Like if you first tried ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever it is, that's what you associate with this kind of knowledge transfer. But I was running some tests, just like looking at Part and Sum at our company, on organic search versus on AI mode. And if you search Part and Sum in AI mode, nothing comes up. It doesn't result in anything. If you search in normal search, like it comes up as it should. So like there's this fundamental disconnect between like normal search and AI mode, even in Google's products. And there's studies out there that show like if you're looking for a specific kind of park, I think I saw this in the New York Times, with a bench, like you can find exactly what you're looking for in normal search. But if you go to AI mode, it's all over the place. But it is apparently good for e-commerce, for product results, which kind of makes sense because it's pulling in data feeds. So it's great when there's like a data feed, but otherwise like it doesn't seem to work as well. And the need is to optimize for these results on AI mode and for ChatGPT. Because like, why is a site like Part and Sum ranking perfectly in Google search, but not in another Google product like AI mode? It's a fundamentally different way to rank.
Search is a very complex product, right? Despite its kind of simplicity for the end user. And I think there's actually a magic in that, right? Which we actually, I think all of the AI search platforms are going to have to relearn, right? Google included, right? AI mode, Perplexity, ChatGPT, they're all going to relearn that when I type, like a business name in, I don't want to know about the business name. Like a one-word business name, I'm almost certainly looking for directions, right? And Google's figured that out, right? And like regular search knows that, but AI is still like, oh, did you want to know about the history of this business? Like, sure, I'll tell you a 4,000-word essay about the history of this business on the fly. And so we're gonna have to relearn a lot of these kind of like normative ideas that search has actually well solved over the last 20 years. We're not going to get to any of that stuff until we have some kind of ads, right? Like I think ads has to be like, I haven't seen any headlines about this really, but like I'm very curious like how big the ads AI team is at Google, because it has to be large, right? If they don't have a whole team of people trying to figure out how to put ads in this thing, like I don't know what they're doing.
It's still to this day very binary, like Meta and Google, right? Like they're the main, the platforms that have it the most figured out. There's a bunch of other ones, of course, but the main ones like that you have to be playing in are those two. Are we at a point where we're like decrease a little bit of your budget on search to experiment in more stuff, or no?
I don't think there's a place for us to deploy that budget yet. Google and Meta are still like king. I was surprised to see research that ByteDance is number 3 in terms of ad spend, followed by Amazon. So like that is not changing anytime soon. Paid and organic search on Google is not going anywhere. If anything, test some budget on Bing. We're seeing performance on Bing, especially for enterprise, but that doesn't mean that paid search and organic search are going anywhere soon. So continue the course, but take LLMs into account when you're optimizing your for SEO. And AI optimization is increasingly important, especially as we lean into these black box campaign types like PMax, AI Max. It's all transitioning towards these AI-driven, automated black box campaign types. And as marketers, we need to test them, but be careful and don't go all in on ASC plus on Meta. Test it, scale it, and make sure if it works, but continue the course otherwise. But kind of wait and see to see like where this goes. But search is not going anywhere soon.
So here's a question then to close it out. In this very, very messy landscape that we're in, what are we recommending?
Fundamentally, I think most brands are best served still by generating, unique, relevant, authoritative information, engaging with their audiences, building direct lines to their audience through email lists, etc. Like a lot of those kind of essential basic best practices, which were true before, are still true, right? None of that has really changed. I think obviously there are some instances where if all you were doing producing kind of empty calories, like empty, like easily repeatable top of funnel content, maybe don't do that. But like I would have told you that even before all this AI stuff, right? Like it doesn't, like you may be getting clicks, but they weren't converting, right? And so I think a lot of the actual behaviors I think are very similar. Now, obviously, I think as we get through the end of this year and beginning of next year, I suspect that we'll start to see more concrete kind of like, oh, here are actual behavior changes of things that actually we think are starting to work or starting to show up in measurable ways. But right now, I'd say most brands should be paying attention and experimenting with a small amount of budget, but essentially doing the same things that they were doing before.